Reaction time! Yay! I don't know. I mean, this is a good thumbnail. I look at this, whenever I think of furry bait, the thumbnails are usually a bit more enticing in terms of, it seems genuine and nice, so I kind of want to give it a shot. Plus, it's like a 15-minute video, so, and they explain it probably a lot better than I ever will. So for the sake of the video, I could just judge it from a furry standpoint. Furry sees how non-furries judge furry characters as furry bait. Wow, let's give it a shot. This is True Green 7's Which Pokemon Are Actually Furry Bait. In this video, I describe which Pokemon I believe are actually furry bait / furbait. I've never heard of furbait before, but maybe it's a new term. I like it. Either way, let's watch it.
Hey guys, Ron here, and as you may or may not know, one of the most prolific communities on the internet are furries. The fandom is literally just a subculture that is interested in anthropomorphic animal characters, whether it be simply enjoying the aesthetic, commissioning art, or dressing up in fursuits.
He got to the point. He wasn't wrong about the definition. We are off to an amazing start. This is what the kids nowadays would call based. Whoever this is, you are based. Ron, that's his name, Ron. Ron, you're based. As a furry, you are based, and you gave such a genuine definition. If you don't know any Pokemon past a certain point, if you are a furry, you only know, like, the important ones that people point out. Like, it's literally the point of, like, Pokemon being furry bait. You know Lycanroc, Zeraora, Incineroar. You just know them because furries love them. That's literally it. I mean, I don't know any of the Pokemon outside of that. If you asked me what the water-type Pokemon was, I wouldn't be able to give you a straight answer. I know jack shit about that. I don't even know the legendaries for that game.
These furry fans, on a basic level, merely enjoy animals that exhibit human-level intelligence, bodies, and facial expressions. So naturally, furries gravitate towards Pokemon. But because of this stigmatized hobby, many fans have begun to antagonize Pokemon designs. Pokemon can be the subject of some kind of furry art. While making this video, I learned that Scolipede is very popular among furry artists. Does that make it furry bait?
It is? Do I want to know? Y'all are saying yes, this is scaring me. Do I want to know? Scolipede though? I'm trying to think, how would this apply? So like that. I look at the eyes at the frame you pause. I don't, look, I see it, but I don't. That's why I don't feel like I want to know. Either way, let's keep going with this.
Yes and no. By definition, anything that attracts furries is furbait. Foxes, wolves, and dragons Pokemon are more likely to be perceived as popular among furries. I'm gonna go in order from the Pokemon that most fans consider
Wait, hold on. Is there
to the Pokemon
actually
fans least consider furbait.
So like, is there a difference between what is perceived as furry bait and what furries love for like Pokemon specifically, or am I getting this wrong? I feel like I already missed the entire point of this. But it does feel like there is a difference there. Like Pokemon that seem furry bait, that furries love, but also Pokemon that don't seem furry bait, but also furries love, like Scolipede. You know, like, it makes sense thinking about it, but I don't think he mentioned that, and I think I'm overreading it. People see some Pokemon as furry bait, while furries don't. Oh, okay, so that's more of what I was getting at.
Freak had to purposely design the Pokemon to specifically cater to this niche community of fans. And since the Pokemon Company is very protective of their characters, especially from adult material and themes, there is no reason for Game Freak to want to be associated with this fandom. Therefore, no Pokemon is furry bait according to this idea. But this is not the prevailing thought among fans. A lot of fans can agree on a certain group of
True! I didn't even think of that. Like, Game Freak and Nintendo, they don't want their Pokemon to be seen this way. They don't try to. They just make Pokemon designs that look neat. And then, like, the internet perceives it in a different way. And then furries go, but what if? You know, it's just those 3 words. But what if? That's all you need, and you're good. But either way, back to Lopunny.
Bunny, and has one of the top 3 most feminine figures in the Pokedex. I'm gonna say it. It was meant to look hot, and bunnies have always been associated with reproduction. It's the furry bait Pokemon. Salazzle was designed with the most feminine figure I've seen on a lizard, because it's literally the leader of a reverse harem of Salandis. Game Freak knew what they were doing. While making this video, I learned Scalies exist, another subgroup of furries who love lizards. This is for them. Hatterene literally mimics the body of a curvy woman on purpose. Why wouldn't Game Freak know people would find it hot?
Wholesome.
It is bait.
I like how
Hatterene's
I like how he's learning about like furries and subcultures within furry, like Scalies, and he's like saying it in such like a positive manner of like, I'm learning about this community. It's kind of neat. He even mentioned Scalies. You might be right with being like you might be right with this guy being one of the most wholesome like YouTubers out there. He seems really, really nice and is just genuinely learning. Also, I just wanted to point out as well about the whole bunny thing that he could have totally mentioned here with like Low Bunny. Think of like Playboy, you know, like the Playboy bunnies and all that. You know, you could draw the comparison there to an extent. Just another small thing.
Actual body is inside its hair shell. I don't even have to spell out why Tsarina is here. What am I doing with my life? Roserade is a femme fatale.
You did this to yourself.
Primarina is a beautiful mermaid pop star.
Never heard.
Pheromosa is an alien queen with the figure of a fashion model. Even furries don't like Enamorous, but...
What the hell is that? What is that thing? That's a Pokemon? Enamorous. It's a new force of nature. I have never seen this thing before. Ever. Ever. What is that? That's supposed to be enticing? Is this supposed to be like with like Tornadus, Thunderous, and Landorus? I'm assuming so, but like, what happened? How? I mean, I will admit the design looks cool. For like enticing though? Because Enamorous is its name. I don't know about that one, Chief. I don't know about that one.
And beloved by women. Machamp has the form of a bodybuilder. Incineroar has the physique of a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
Buzzwole is swole. And Urshifu exemplifies the body of a martial artist.
Ooh.
They are inspired by peak physical
Never
male
heard of that
forms.
before, but I
Game
like
Freak
them.
knows that this body type is considered attractive since the beginning of time. Therefore, it is for
369 HP. I see what you did there, even if you didn't intend to do it on purpose, which I'm still perceiving.
Furbait. Then you have Pokemon based on attractive tropes and origins. Inteleon is depicted as a suave spy. Pokemon are even attracted to it in the end. Given its origin, Game Freak knew. And finally, you have the fursuit subcategory. If these Pokemon were designed in Generation 1 or 2, I'd give Game Freak a pass, cause back then they didn't even know about furries. I don't even think they existed. But these Gen 7 and 8 Pokemon...
They did. But the history of furry fandom culture and whatnot is kind of just low-key. You gotta like look in the right places to find it. Because when was Pokemon made? It was made back in like the 90s or 80s, right? It was in the 90s, right? I know furries existed long before that, like in the 70s or so. Pokemon came out in 98. Oh yeah, then furries were there long before then, but they just weren't really a prevalent thing until the internet. Explain that a little bit.
Or thought that fans of anthropomorphic animals would be somewhat attracted towards these designs. The definition of Furbait. But you may notice some obvious Pokemon are missing. They may be in the next category, titled Game Freak Should Have Known. These are Pokemon that Game Freak did not design to look sexy. Their unfortunate attractiveness was an afterthought.
Yeah, Lucario. We love Lucario. We love Lucario, okay? We love Lucario. We love Lucario. I love how he, like, distinguishes the categories and whatnot. You've got, like, they knew what they were doing versus they should have known but didn't know. Received furry bait, not based on, oh, they're trying to appeal to the furry audience, but more so, like, they're trying to make appealing Pokemon with a specific theme versus Pokemon that are just in general supposed to be kind of neat or cool that furries love, but they didn't intend to make it happen. See, you notice how this is, like, so confusing, and I'm making it even more confusing than actually, like, playing the video and letting you all watch it. Let's keep going.
And even regular Pokemon fans. These are gateway furbaits. While most fans would consider the Pokemon from the previous category to actually be furbaits, I'd say only around 40% were considering the following bait. But actual furries would consider all of these furbaits since they are super popular in the fandom.
Yes.
Lucario is like the definition of a furry. It's an anthropomorphic jackal, the most upright standing canine in the series, a super popular Pokemon, and the most popular in the furry community. But Game Freak did not design it to be attractive. All of its human-like elements are inspired by Anubis, and I would be surprised if there were any ancient Egyptian furries. Actually, scratch that.
You know what I love about Lucario, especially in one of his, like, Pokedex entries? Apparently, Lucario can read into the thoughts and, like, the hearts of humans and see, like, what they're thinking about or what they desire. I hope to God Lucario hasn't had to do that for furries. I hope to God he hasn't. Have you seen the movie? I've seen the Pokemon Mystery of Mew movie, and that movie specifically got me scared of the Reggie sounds. Like, look, if you've played the Pokemon games, if you've heard the Reggie sounds, they don't even compare to the terrifying sounds they make in that movie. All the Reggies, terrifying. Terrifying.
In the furry community. But Game Freak did not design it to be attractive. All of its human-like elements are inspired by Anubis, and I would be surprised if there were any ancient Egyptian furries. Actually, scratch that. But regardless, it has baited the furries. The only reason they should have known people would be attracted to it is that it's supposed to mimic shonen protagonists, and tons of women are fans of Naruto and Goku to the extreme. That's why Gardevoir is the most popular feminine Pokemon. There is nothing on its body that I think is a little bit sus. It's pretty tame. It's a guardian angel knight. It just so happens to be incredibly pretty and as tall as an adult woman, so...
And is also a glass cannon in just general Pokemon combat. At least from what I've known. I've always considered Gardevoir just a glass cannon Pokemon. I don't know, maybe it changes in like the later generations, but I've played X and Y. Just wasn't that memorable for me.
The rest is history. It's not even Furbait. It's just a cartoon fairy. It's barely an animal. And last I checked, something has to be based on a wild or domesticated animal for it to be a furry. Nobody is attracted to it because it's an animal. They like it because it looks like a pretty lady. So Pokemon like Gardevoir and the previous few blur the line. They don't even have extremely feminine bodies. They're pretty amorphous, but they're based on beautiful women.
I didn't even think of that. Furry bait Pokemon that aren't actually supposed to be furry bait, but are just bait for something else in general, but apparently furries see it as furry bait. That's weird. Because I always considered just naturally, because I see furries do it, a furry bait Pokemon. I don't know, because I guess for some people who aren't furries, they might see Gardevoir in the same light as furries see furry bait Pokemon in the same light. Huh. I didn't actually think about that until now. That makes a lot more sense now that you put it that way. That's kind of neat, though. This is like a really good unraveling of like how nerds see like designs of like fictional characters.
They're gonna unfortunately be attractive to people from multiple communities, like anime fans, not just furries. So you decide if that is considered furbait. Queen and Miltank, on the other hand, have very clear memories. They are furbait, unintentionally. Since you know all cows have udders, Game Freak didn't invent udders.
I forgot about
Jinx
that.
has a breastplate, but no furry following, so it literally isn't furbait. You gotta show results to be furbait. How does Loxton do this? Bipedal Pokemon are very popular among the community.
That's a good question. How do I do this? How I've been doing this for like 2.5 years now. It's a good question. I don't want to think too much of it. Wait, bipedal Pokemon? Okay. Let's go on to it.
This is where the line really is blurred. Some of these are simply animals that stand up, while others are very humanoid. This category is.
Wait, is that a shiny Flygon? Are you just gonna gloss over a shiny Flygon? That's a shiny Flygon, isn't it? Or wait, is that just how it looks in Pokemon Black and White? It looks like a shiny Flygon. It's not? Well, why does it look slightly tinted in like a yellowish color? Flygon's supposed to be like green and red. Either way, let's go back to bipedal. Sorry.
This is where the line really is blurred. Some of these are simply animals that stand up, while others are very humanoid. This category is what all the fuss is about. While all the Pokemon we mentioned so far have clear reasons for being popular among furries, the following garners suspicion from those who are very critical of furries. Almost like they're questioning the loyalty of these Pokemon. There are a bunch of Pokemon in this category that aren't even the subject of much furry fan art. Grimmsnarl, Audino, Electivire,
What the hell is that? I've never seen this one before either. Where did this come from? It's a goblin! I love goblins. They're cool. It's from Sword and Shield? Oh well.
Hypno, Magearna, and Alakazam are literally not furbait, because furries don't gravitate towards them.
True.
I'm sure some do, but this proves that simply being bipedal doesn't make a Pokemon furbait. Even being a primate or human-inspired doesn't make something furbait either. Mr. Mime, Sock and Throw, Hitmonchan, Slacking, Conkeldurr, Simipour, Passimian, Oranguru, and Hariyama are not the subject of furry art, despite being fairly humanoid. They are not furbait. They were not designed to be attractive, and most furries don't find them attractive. Starters are the most susceptible for being labeled as furbait, especially in recent generations now that they're mostly bipedal. People are going to be more sensitive to the humanoid aspects of a Pokemon that they raised and became best friends with.
Good old online tournaments in Pokemon Sun and Moon. Good times. Actually, too much time. Too much. Too long. Make the timer go quicker. That is my only critique there.
More attached to the anthro animals that they became buddies with. But again, just the fact that they stand up doesn't make them literal furbait. Feraligatr, Infernape, Emboar, and Decidueye, despite being called furbait by some, are not particularly huge in the furry community, compared to other starters at least.
I mean, they are furry bait, just from the concept of being relative to like furry anthropomorphic interests. Anthropomorphic crocodile or alligator, anthropomorphic fighting monkey, anthropomorphic pig, owl. Pretty straightforward, at least I think. Though I guess that's what he's pointing out, the difference between conceived furry bait, like just definition-wise, versus popularity. Because popularity does have a big part in it too, so...
But there are a bunch of bipedal and humanoid Pokemon that do have a following. So whether or not they are fur bait all comes down to whether or not intention makes something bait. There are some Pokemon that were designed without... They are monstrous, and some like that. But again, does that make any strong-looking design?
I'm sorry, I'm just so hung up on him, like, pointing out the pecs in certain Pokemon. These Pokemon have pecs! I know it's so matter-of-fact, but it's just so funny to me. Mewtwo is very drawn. We literally celebrate Mewtwo's birthday. I know, and he's not necessarily a furry bait character. It's just furries like the character in situations of furry. It's kind of weird.
Medicham, Leavanny, Mienshao, and Goodra have noticeable thighs.
Goodra
is actually one of
thighs.
the
Wait,
most popular...
did he mention thighs? What are you doing with that art? What is that art there? Hold on. What are you... Why are you... Goodra's such a cool, cute Pokemon. I love Goodra. I love how he points out the thighs on it, though.
Popular Pokemon in the furry community, and many average fans know this, and not
Tentacles.
attractive at all. Yet their legs and
Tentacles.
human proportions make...
I was talking about Deoxys in a different sense, but that also works too. Yeah, okay. I also cut him off when he was talking about Goodra with the thighs. I want to hear him mention the thighs again. That was funny.
Mienshao and Goodra have noticeable thighs. Goodra is like personalities, and sometimes personality makes something more attractive.
Bisharp, really? That's interesting. I mean, Weavile I can kind of see, but Bisharp? Now I'm curious what he's about to say.
Attractive than appearance. Whether they be cool, brave, Sceptile,
it's got
I guess
the eyes.
fans really like Grovile's
the eyes.
personality.
It's literally all in the eyes. It's in the expressions, and Toxtricity has the look, okay? It's about personality. I was gonna go with more of like the... Sure.
Sceptile gets some of that love by extension, but some fans really think Sceptile is Furbait, but won't see Garchomp as Furbait, despite it literally being one of the most popular...
The fucking buff Garchomp art panning through. Look, you can't forget the fan art too. It's all up to the imagination of the creators. Oh my god, the buff scarred Garchomp in the back. Dear god.
And by definition, have baited furries. Is this because Grumpig isn't a fairly popular design? Does that mean that any
Oh, is that Krokorok? Oh, it's Crocodile. Wait, what is Krokorok? Isn't Krokorok the evolution of Sandile and then that evolved into Crocodile? Oh, it's the middle one. Okay. That makes sense. That's what I was wondering about. Okay, now I see it.
They aren't. At least according to my calculate. They are simply beautiful creatures with personality.
Why? Why specifically they well, I know why you did, but like he knows he's seen things. Oh my god. What the message of this is, I guess it's more so that any Pokemon can be furry bait, realistically speaking. Because Pokemon in general, at least in a lot of their designs, can kind of be translated to furry interest, furry bait, as it were. So I guess it makes sense. Whoever recommended this creator to me in this video, thank you. This was awesome. I love how, like, well-worded his videos are. But yeah, go and support True Green if you haven't already. Good dude. And for also being respectful of furries. I don't think there was any point where he talked about furries in a negative light. And I appreciate that. This is good to see.